Hey good people, Batavia here. It's October and we have a backyard garden tour for you. See you in a few. Okie doke. A few housekeeping items. Thank yous to those who like, watch, subscribe, comment, and share Be Better Garden. We appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, consider there's a button below. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll be alerted each time I share more #GardenJoy. Alrighty, so it's been a while since we've walked through the backyard garden, so I want to show you a couple of things before the frost sets in. Today is October the 10th, and we're just about, it's 19 days till our first expected frost on October the 29th. So, still got some summer veggies in here, along with a couple of fall ones. So, let's dig in. Okie doke. So, we have the cage baby. I think we'll start with that this week. There are 3 raised beds inside of here. I'm going to open the doors and we'll take a look at really the tomatoes and peppers that are still growing there. Did a container garden video that focused primarily on fall veggies last week. Check that out if you didn't see it. But some things are growing well. Oh, and also we're at the part of the season where I start to get lazy. So you'll see things strewn about that just haven't made their way back to their home. But let's get this opened up. Alright, so let's start on this end, which is at this point, I think we're still calling this bed number 8. We actually have something else coming in, so these will be renumbered again. This is the green zebra. I really love this tomato last year. This is a different seed provider that I bought it from. I started from seed this year, and it's not the same. I bought a transplant last year, and the last year version went, it turned orange. These seem to be overripe once they get to this yellowish color. So I like the citrusy flavor of the green zebra tomato, which this still has. I'll have to consider picking these sooner next year. But I did pickle some of these in their more green and just underripe state, kind of like, you know, regular green tomatoes. My lemon drop peppers are doing well. I have to get some of these off the vine. I've not really done any real harvest for these, but I did get some pointers about how to use them, even freezing them. So I'm going to take that recommendation. Let's see. This was the faux brandywine. So I guess this is more like a salad style tomato, not a cherry tomato. Disappointed initially, but I ended up actually getting a bunch of these, like pounds of these off the vine, and I made some tomato sauce with them. A little bit more work than your regular tomatoes since you're skinning all of these, but I wouldn't grow them next year for that purpose. But I'm going to use what I got now. I'm also fishing out green tomatoes for the purpose of, again, pickling more green tomatoes. The plants are sickly. These were all put in like the first week of June, and they're running their course. I've not done the best with caring for them as of late, but they're still producing, and I'll no doubt, especially for the regular sized tomatoes, my early girl plant here, I'll for sure pull tomatoes off the vine just before the frost. And as you can see, they are growing quite tall. Both of these plants are. So the green zebra on that end, followed by the early girl, and then these two are the faux brandywine. So some tours back I talked about, wow, this should really, you want this to produce more. These are the banana peppers. I am getting a few, and at this point a few is more than enough for me. So I'm pleased with that, letting them stay on for as long as possible because they'll get a bit more orange, a bit more ripe. And then the Marconi pepper, isn't that beautiful? You see that back there? That one's gonna come off with me this weekend. But while they were kind of crowded in here, they didn't do the best. They have produced some peppers, which is pretty cool. And I'm gonna get this right this time, guys. The shishito Yeah, I think that's right. So in addition to having these couple here, I did determine that one of the containers, one of the buckets I'm growing in, had those peppers too. So since we last talked, I've pulled a couple of plants. This is my beefsteak tomato, which has just struggled. You'll see some green tomatoes back there, which, you know, I'll let them do their thing. But I pulled the second beefsteak. It was just sickly, and I was trying to control the sickness so it didn't spread. And then I have more bell peppers. These have to be your California Wonders, but just gold or yellow, which if I would have given them more space, I bet they would have produced even more. But again, we'll be grateful for what we have. So more yellow peppers here. I don't remember the color of that one back there, but we'll again let things stay on the vine as long as they can until I get a chance to actually either eat them or process them. I've been doing a bunch of preserving over these last couple of weeks, and this gal is tired, but we're still working at it. The Iko pepper. This one is just pretty cool because of the colors that it changes to, but it does, this one at least, does taste like your traditional green pepper. These are, I pulled the cherry tomato plant that was here. It was sickly, although you'll still see some tomatoes up there. And I've seen our neighborhood squirrels trolling this area. Roma tomatoes. So these are the only 2 Roma tomato plants. And when you talk about productive, like I can't wait to grow more of these next year. I don't enjoy like fresh Roma tomatoes. They're just not my thing, you know, and the reason why they make good for preserving and such is the reason why it's not my thing. It's not a juicy tomato. So this is done really well with a couple of the dishes that I've been canning or freezing. So there are 2 back here. What I'm going to do today is go off, pick all of the ripe fruit, and then I'm going to do some deep watering because I've been kind of neglectful when it comes to watering as of late. While there's not as much requirement for watering, just based on kind of the temperatures dropping, these plant babies still need some hydration. So we still have a couple of bell peppers here too that I've been harvesting. Since I have a bunch more of these plants, I'm trying to let these peppers get to their true ripeness. So if it's a bell pepper that is supposed to turn red, I'm trying to let it turn red. Same thing where if it's supposed to turn gold or yellow, I'm trying to let it do that. And then for those that were keeping track of the volunteers, again, these are just 2 volunteers that came out of the earth. Now it came from up under here. You can see the stem right there. I've actually been picking some of these as well. This plant did a lot better than this volunteer. And you know, I haven't noticed any of the squirrels or anything bothering these. It's kind of weird, but hey, listen, I'm not going to question them and what they decide not to eat. So this is a womp womp moment. This is spaghetti squash and butternut squash, and I let the powdery mildew take over, and you can just see it's decimated this plant, these 2 plants. I do have 1 butternut squash here that's getting close to being ready to pick, and then the spaghetti squash, I hope I have enough time. It isn't looking good just based on kind of our average frost date. Trying to keep the plant alive to let it continue to the fruit continue to ripen, but it's going to be a close call. So we'll see. Same story here where I have this one's in better shape but still pretty poor shape. I'm pretty sure these are all butternut squash, which is cool because I was hoping to have more of those. And they are at various stages of ripening, and again, I think it's going to be another kind of fight against the clock. This one's a huge one. I just lost my tomato. So we have a couple in here, and yeah, we're crossing our fingers and toes and saying a garden prayer. Now, I transplanted, started on 7/24, so in July indoors, and then transplanted some spinach and kale here, and it's just just not done anything. So I'm having the hardest time this year and last year getting spinach to grow. We'll have to kind of retool things and try to figure out how to do better probably in the spring of next year. This is more the lemon drop pepper, just such a pretty pepper. You see it starts green, turns purplish, and then kind of hits that yellow. So cool. I am harvesting all of the jalapenos that I can get my hands on. There are a couple of them tucked in here. So I pulled a bunch off the plants this weekend because I have some dishes I'm preserving. And I let a lot of the jalapenos get away from me. So trying to catch up with that. Let's see. The next bed, the strawberry bed, which has been done for the season. You know, we'll prep this as the cold comes and hope for some fresh berries kind of next summer. This is the second year that I've been growing these berries. I moved them, transplanted them to a different bed here this summer, but this is the second year for these. Let's see. More container gardening. Some really beautiful lettuce. And then we have some arugula on the end there. A hint of my neglectfulness. This bed is the oldest bed in the garden. So this has been built the longest ago, if you will. And this, really, everything that you see that's really growing was planted kind of mid-summer. Lacinato or dinosaur kale. I think it's also called Tuscan kale. Then we have some ruby red Swiss chard. This is my favorite, Fort Hook Swiss chard. Chard can be kind of bitter from my experience. I've heard other people say the same. The Fort Hook, the giant Fort Hook, is not that. So it's not as mild as lettuce. I mean, this is craziness. Look at this. It's not as mild as lettuce, but it is much milder than your typical chard. So I have a couple of plants in here. I also, again, transplanted and started from seed, direct sowed some spinach back here in these rows, and still just really not great germination. This was a kale plant that I transplanted because I was finally able to start kale indoors. But again, spinach was a womp womp moment. And then because the sun hasn't really come out so much, I'm going to go ahead and show you all how the collard greens are doing since that last big harvest in August. I have harvested about, I don't know, 15 or so leaves to make a small pot of greens since then, but this is really the growth. So I want to talk to you about the fabric as well as kind of the health of the plants. All right, so just a sec. The collards are doing really well after that last big harvest in August. I think I left this cover off just a couple minutes too long because I had a bunch of damage like this. So I was picking for like a week and a half every day, first thing in the morning, coming in and picking off cabbage worms. And you can see some of these older leaves have still been, eaten up. So it's one of those things. I was chatting with another gardener in the comments about, does the tulle fabric, which I use to cover and protect the beds, really work? And I think it works if you are diligent. So this bed sits lower than this bed as it relates to the PVC pipe. And it's crazy because I actually lowered it intentionally, and that's just like cutting it down here. So I did that earlier this summer because I initially had netting, like your regular kind of fruit netting on top of these plants. And the netting was too small to cover the bed based on the original hoop size. And so I lowered it. But what that's now led me to, because the netting didn't work, is these leaves are so big and tall, which is wonderful, but they are just sitting up against the tulle fabric, and things are just sitting on top of that tulle fabric and, you know, planting themselves. But anywho, next year I'll probably put my collards in this bed, and if you can kind of see, like, one of the taller leaves here is still shorter than this hoop, so I'm hoping that works out. But I'm going to go ahead and clean up this bed, get any of the leaves that are kind of torn up like this, and this is really old damage, but get any of the leaves out of the bed, cover it up. I'm keeping an eye out for the cabbage moth. It's still flying around here. I'm probably going to pull that lettuce out because it's not done really well in this bed compared to the others, and the leaves, once I clean them up, are edible. They're of size. So yeah, that's the backyard garden. Things are still doing really well. I mean, to be in the second week of October, I'm still really pleased with all the summer veggies that I have, how great the tomatoes have done. I'm still going to pull a bunch of green tomatoes off, I know, when the frost comes. I'm going to think that maybe we'll get a later frost. I'm not going to say it out loud. I'm just going to think it. But if it does come as scheduled at the end of the month, I'll be ready. But yeah, we are still gardening. Alrighty, thanks so much for spending some time with me. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. And I shall see you all on the next one.